Welcome back, everybody. It is the Between the Ears show here on Mountaineers Now, a Sports Illustrated Fan Nation channel. I'm Skylar Callahan, and today my guest is Eugene Napoleon, the co-host of the Walkthrough Game Day show and also the host of Relatively Sports. Also here on this channel, you can check out his show every Tuesday at 6 o'clock. This week, he talks to former WNBA star and a client of his own, Franthea Price. So we've got a lot of good stuff in the bag for you coming up here on that show, as well as here on Between the Ears. And you know what, Gene, we were watching the national championship game earlier this week, and I had so many thoughts just going through my mind about not only the game, but just the state of college football. And I was like, there's no better person to talk to this about than my guy, Eugene. And so we're going to break that down today. We're going to talk about all the problems with college football, not just how to make the game more level, but how West Virginia can have more success and kind of get back to their winning ways. So first, before I do all that, I want to give my guy some praise. This guy right here, Eugene, won the DVN Pick'ems, and I promised I would say who actually won. So yes, Eugene, you are the winner of the DVN Pick'ems. And I got to say, man, we absolutely stunk it up in the bowl games. I think you went one or two wins, maybe. You got Georgia into the national championship. You had them winning it all, but it didn't matter. You could have not won any games and it wouldn't have mattered because I am a complete idiot and went 0-6 to end the year. So anyways.
Don't beat yourself up too much. Don't beat yourself up too much.
I mean, hey, I got to give the title a little bit of different possessions every now and then. So at least you got it this
Yes,
year.
I
It'll be back
appreciate it.
in my hands next year. So, anyways, now let's go and get into everything that we're here for, and that is the state of college football. Georgia dominates. I don't even know if dominates is a good word to describe this game. 65-7 against TCU, and I don't think that the one-sided score was really much of a surprise to people. It was just
Right.
how bad it was. Like, I think a lot of people thought, okay, you know what, it might be like, 45-27, something like that. No. I mean, this looked like a game of I don't even know, like a Georgia playing Tennessee Martin, who, by the way, that's who they open their season with next year. So Gene, I want to talk about why college football has gotten this, I would say, diluted, because it seems like there's only an X amount of teams every year that even have a chance to get to the college football playoff and do damage in it.
Right.
Whereas anybody else, yeah, they may have a chance, but are they really going to compete like a TCU? Yes, they beat Michigan, but when they got to the national championship,
Right.
it was clear that the talent disparity was very, very vast. So why is it that there's only a handful of schools that really have a legitimate chance compared to I don't maybe even 10, 15 years ago where it seemed like there really wasn't a dominant program. There was a couple, but there was still a chance for a school like West Virginia to actually get that opportunity.
I think because if we're talking, we're not in the same book. You know how they say, turn the page. Well, we're not even in the same book.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a difference between they handle their business differently. They do their business differently at these other programs, point blank, and they've always have. See, when you talk about a Georgia, you talk about an Alabama, you talk about quote unquote the blue bloods or whatever, they've always gone at this looking at we're going to stockpile athletes at every key position. So it literally is not, they're never in what you would consider to be a rebuilding state. They're always in a reloading state, while everybody else that they compete against might be in a rebuilding state. They're not. So, give you a prime example. If anybody wants to go out and understand what the business of college football has become, take a look and take a complete chapter out of Coach Prime's book, Deion Sanders, over there at Colorado. He is systematically breaking down the importance, even though he doesn't like it, he'll tell you he doesn't like it, the transfer portal. That joke is going in the transfer portal, and he's getting the kind of players that are ready to compete at a consistent level, a Power 5 level right now. Repeat that. He is going in the portal, and he's getting the type of talent that can walk right in Colorado and compete consistently right now. Here's the deal. You can't want to compete on an A-list level, don't know how to navigate the transfer portal properly, and go get C-list talent to compete consistently at the A-list level. And I'm not being harsh. That's the harsh reality of where we are in big-time college sports. So until we get to the point where we know how to navigate the transfer portal, it's going to be difficult to compete on a consistent level. TCU, I was blown away by the final score. I was really surprised by that score. 65 points is a lot of points to score. And for you to only muster up 7 points, and TCU is a good football team. Let's be clear. TCU is really coached from top to bottom. They play well in all three phases of the game, offense, defense, special teams. But they looked so outmatched. I think that's a surprise. They were so outmatched by Georgia in every phase of the game. It's like it was never even a game.
And see, my thing is too, like everyone's mad at TCU. And everyone's mad at the college football playoff selection committee and like, well, TCU should have never been there. That's complete BS. Like they earned their way into the college football playoff, and then they earned their way again into the national title game. They beat Michigan. So if you have a problem with TCU saying, oh, they should have never been there, and that they're not that good, they're not deserving, then what's that say about Michigan, who they beat?
Listen, if you put Michigan in that game, I'm going to say it, because most people, if you put Michigan in that game, you know what that score would have been? Let's say 65-21.
Yeah, what's the damn difference?
Michigan would not have been able to, what, you thought you would think it would be a better game if Michigan played Georgia? Nobody was beating Georgia this year.
No, not at all. And that's the problem. I think that everyone, and it just happened to be TCU. It happened to be a Big 12 school, which obviously sucks for at least us because, you know, we're people that cover the Big 12, cover West Virginia, and it's kind of giving the Big 12 a bad look. But let's face it, Gene, like that could have been Tennessee. That could have been Michigan. That could have been USC. That could have been, it doesn't matter. It just so happened that TCU got the opportunity to play for the national title to get their ass kicked.
Let me tell you something. No, you know what? People should be excited. See, we're looking at the wrong things. It's wrong metrics right here. You should be happy because it shows you that the system works.
Yeah.
TCU got in.
Yeah.
Because then if they wouldn't have gotten in, now the other complaints would have been, oh my God, I can't believe they played so well this year, didn't even get a sniff at it, didn't even get a crack at the national title. Well, you can't have it both ways.
And here's the thing too, and everyone's saying, you know, I'd rather see a 2-loss Alabama instead of TCU. No. Why? Because then at this point, if you do that, then you're opening up the door for, oh, well, maybe a 3-loss Alabama, maybe a 4-loss Alabama. Just because they have the talent doesn't mean that they should be more deserving than TCU. Of course, when you stack up Alabama's roster to anybody else in the country, it's probably going to top everybody except for maybe Georgia or maybe a Clemson every so now and then, or maybe Ohio State. But when you look at what they accomplished, that's the whole point we have, and the whole reason we have a selection committee, because we're not just looking at who are the best 4 teams, the most talented teams in the country. It's the best 4 that deserve to be there. You lose 2 games, I'm sorry. If somebody else has 1 loss or no losses and they got a Power 5, conference championship or a championship appearance in their belt like TCU did, sorry, I don't care about you.
Let me ask you this. I agree with you 100%, Scholar. But let me ask you this. Okay, that committee, which in my opinion got it right. They got it
Yeah,
right.
they did 100%.
Those are your top four teams. You battle it out team for team. Whoever wins in the last two standing, that's who's playing for the national championship. It just so happened that this year it was TCU. And they were well deserving because they beat a good Michigan football team to earn their way into the national championship game. Unfortunately, they ran into a buzzsaw.
Yeah.
That would have happened to anybody. The only thing, if Alabama would have played that game, they're not beating Georgia. They're not. The whole mentality that I love it. You understand? People talking about Georgia being you guys are being hunted. Are you kidding me? Being hunted? Do you know what that concept means? When somebody tells you they're being hunted, that means you're running.
Yeah.
You're running from the people that are hunting you. You're running from the teams that are hunting you. I love Kirby Smart's reaction. What are you talking about? We hunt.
Yeah.
We will never be hunted. We hunt. I love that mentality. And guess what? His players, coaches, the whole supporting cast understands that. I'm not bringing no entitlement into my program because the minute you have entitlement, I agree with that as well. That's where you start having your problems. Do you see how many people Georgia has in their transfer portal?
Yeah, it's not very many.
Okay. Do you see the guys that they develop through their recruitment process out of high school?
Oh yeah. Top 100 players, top 200 players.
So they don't rely on the transfer portal the same way that everybody else does. That's because that's what happens when you pick a program that knows how to develop high school talent.
And here's the couple. I have a series of questions now for you because I don't know that I have the answer for it. I'm hoping you do, but I don't know that anybody does. When we talk about this talent disparity, I mean, we're talking about a team like TCU that got to the national championship, deserved to be there, and got their butt whipped. That tells you a lot about college football in general. I don't think it's a knock on TCU. I don't think it's a knock on
No.
the Big 12. It's a knock on college football. And the biggest problem with it, and I've said it for the last couple of years, and it's only going to get worse, is all these kids coming out of high school. They get that 4-star, that 5-star rating attached to their name when they're a junior, sophomore, senior in high school. And they think just because I'm a 4 or 5-star kid, I've got to go to Alabama. I've got to go to Florida, Ohio State, USC, Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia. The list goes on and on. They go to these schools. And, Gene, I've seen it so many times. I can't tell you how many times at Ohio State and Texas in particular where they have 2 5-star quarterbacks in the same class.
Sure.
And they got, guess what? A true freshman starting who's a 5-star the previous year. So you mean to tell me that if I'm a 5-star prospect and I see that they already have a kid committed in this class, it's also a 5-star. They have a true freshman starting at quarterback that was a 5-star. This is just logic to me. Like if I'm looking at that situation, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I agree. I could probably go and beat those guys for that job. That's the competitive mentality that I would have. But at the same time, I'm looking at like, dang, if I go to West Virginia, or if I go to Mississippi State, or if I go to, Rutgers or Michigan State, like I'm the guy there. There's a reason they want me. Where I don't have to go out and prove it as much. And see, the kids coming out of high school, they'll say, well, that's the best way to get into the NFL. That's the best way for me to be in a successful position. And I'm a competitive guy. Okay, so then you enter college, you go through those competitions, you don't win out, you lose your job, and you hop in the transfer portal, and then you transfer down. So essentially, you just wasted a 2 or 3 year part of your career where you could have just went to that said school right out of the get-go if you would have just realized the situation. If you are talented enough, the NFL will find you no matter where you are. So
If you are talented enough, any professional league, NFL, CFL, AFL, now the USFL, XFL, the bottom line is here's the thing. And I hope people really do see this particular episode. Going to Alabama, going to Georgia, going to Clemson, that doesn't constitute you getting into the NFL.
no, not at all.
If you break
In
down
some
the
ways, it could be
numbers,
tougher.
right? If this okay, you have to have at least 2 good years of film. Film gets you evaluated by NFL and professional scouts. I don't care in what league, on what level.
And hey,
Consistent
15,
film.
15 snaps on special teams and in garbage time when you're up 40 on the Citadel in week 15 isn't going to count as film either.
No, it's not going to count. So here's my thing. It's evaluating the situation appropriately when you come out of high school with your high school coach, with your parents, with these advisors that really are telling you, listen, you might be the best thing since sliced bread. But when you look down that roster at a singular position, what I'm saying is a quarterback is a singular position. It's not like being a running back where you have 2 and 3 running backs can play a game. It's not like being a corner where you got 2 corners and 2 safeties. If you rotate them, you could have 2 sets of corners that's going to rotate. You could have 2 sets of safeties that's going to rotate. You got 8 players rotating. Okay. Defensive linemen, offensive linemen,
Yeah, you got 10, 12
linebackers.
guys.
Okay. When you talk about a quarterback, that's the guy. Unless he gets hurt, that's the guy. It's a singular position. So if I already got a 5-star kid that's starting at that program, and then I'm being recruited by the said program, and I go in and it's another 5-star kid in my class that's also a quarterback, what sense does it make to go? Because the odds are you're not going to get a legitimate opportunity to play.
Yeah.
Odds are. Then you're going to be disgruntled. You're going to become a locker room lawyer because you're upset that you're not playing when you probably shouldn't. And not to say that you're not good enough to compete. That's not what we talk. That's a totally different conversation. We're talking about simple numbers here. The numbers are not going to add out if you're going in with another kid in your class at that particular position, a singular position like quarterback. It's not going to pan out for you too. This is why the transfer portal, in a way, is a curse and a gift at the same time.
Yeah.
But even being said, 40-some-odd% of these kids that enter the transfer portal don't get picked up. So now what? In the other 60% or so, now you got to split those numbers up because you have some kids who go and don't even play at their designation, even though they get a scholarship, right? You got kids who go, you were building a career for yourself at this particular university. You transfer to another Power 5 place. You transfer, let's say, perceivably, you transfer up. You're going to have 2 national championship rings to show for it. But what does that say about your playing time? And what does that say about your opportunity to get yourself to the next level because you didn't play at location 2 the way you thought you were because they already had. So you go in, and instead of being Batman, you're now Robin.
And see, the thing that I have a problem with, too, about this whole thing, it's all about perception, right, for these kids. They see the glitz and the glamour of, oh, if I go to Bama, Clemson, Ohio State, whatever, not only am I going to win a national championship, but I'm probably going to get a lot of money in terms of NIL deals. I guarantee you Alabama is not paying their 4th-string running back $3 million. I guarantee you. I don't cover them. I don't even pretend to know that I know their situation.
No.
But I guarantee you they're not paying $3 million for a guy that's not ever going to play.
No.
And
listen, you don't have to cover them to know that. That's common sense.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think a lot of us lack nowadays. But that's just.
Well, my mom used to say this. Here's my mother. My mother used to say, you first have to have sense to have common sense.
There you go. And I think that's the whole, again, the perception, not just the NILs and the national championship and they're going to get me to the league. Like, you look at West Virginia, they get guys to the league too. if you stick
Yeah.
around. You're telling me Akeem Messidor couldn't get drafted out of West Virginia? You're
Are you
telling
kidding
me
me?
that Tyke Smith couldn't get drafted out of West Virginia? You're telling me
Listen,
Jordan
man,
couldn't get drafted out of West Virginia? You tell me Caden
you
Prather couldn't
just
get drafted out of West Virginia? Like,
absolutely. And here's the thing. Here's a catch-22 that these young people don't understand. And please, I'm hoping this episode is seen. Will you please understand once you go, and I'll use West Virginia, Alpine University as an example. If you've already established yourself there and you already established yourself in getting the type of notoriety that you need and it's consistent film, you're set. God forbid any serious injuries, you are set. Why is it that you get there, you start at a Power Five program, a really good conference of football to play in, and midway through, you decide, well, I'm gonna use the transfer portal to go someplace else.
now you're
And you
saying
wind up going someplace else and either not playing to the level or having the opportunity to play to the level you were playing at West Virginia. And you're not going to admit this, but you're upset with yourself because you get to location 2 and it's not what you think because the grass is not always greener.
And too, Gene, when you transfer to, say, like you said, the perception says you're transferring up. Just because you transfer up doesn't mean you're automatically going to start. It doesn't mean automatically you're going to have a huge role. There's probably a reason why they brought you in, because they have a need at that position, which probably means they brought in another guy or maybe even two. So you're going to have to beat those guys out who are probably thinking the same thing. You're going to get there, you're going to split time, and now all of a sudden you don't have as much film. You don't have as much opportunities as you would if you would have stayed at West Virginia, where you would have started, you would have played almost every snap. And it's not just West Virginia, it's everywhere. But that's just a direct correlation. So, like,
Sure.
And it's not just that. It's, if I'm a kid that's coming out of high school, and again, maybe not every kid thinks this way, and obviously that's the case, or else we wouldn't have this conversation, is when you come out of high school, or if I were coming out of high school and had all these offers, I'm looking at Alabama, but I'm looking at all these big time programs, and they offer me, I'm like, you know what? That's really cool. It's a really cool opportunity that I would have to go to those types of schools. But I don't just want to be another guy. I don't want to be a guy that just says, you know what? I went to Georgia and I won 3 national championships in 4 years or whatever. But guess what? I only played like 30 snaps a season. That's not me. I don't want to just go there just to get a ring and cash out and not get to the NFL because I didn't have an opportunity, number one. And number two, I was just so enamored by the logo and the brand that was going to be what got me there. I'm coming out of high school, I'm looking at some of these Power Five schools that maybe aren't blue bloods. Like, you look at West Virginia, Michigan State, or Wisconsin, something like that. And I'm saying, if I go there, I'm going to be the guy. And not only going to be the guy, the fan base is going to treat me a whole different way because they appreciate you more. They're not just saying, oh, it's like the Lakers, right? It's like, oh, there's the next Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. There's the next Kobe. There's the next LeBron. There's the next this guy. No, like the Milwaukee Bucks, they haven't had anything for a long time. Giannis Antetokounmpo, look at what he's done with that franchise. Same thing with the Trailblazers and Damian Lillard. He said, I don't want to go anywhere else. I want to win here. I want to be the guy here. I want to be the guy that brings the championship to Portland. I know I'm a little off.
That's a different. That's a different mentality. That's a total. And I respect those guys who have that. That's a different dog inside of it. That's something different.
Go be the group of kids that start something special somewhere else. You are going to be remembered more if you go to a school, and it doesn't have to be West Virginia, but I'm saying if it's a non-blue blood school, and you and a handful of other 5-star kids in consecutive classes say, you know what, screw those blue bloods. We're going to this type of a program, and we are going to be the ones that get this thing going, and we really do something special. You will be remembered more for that than you will be for being the 4th string on a 3-time national championship team. I guarantee.
Well, I'm gonna share this with you, which is interesting. I remember during my recruiting process, right? Um, Nebraska was the only school, and I got offers offered from every school in the country. I'll never forget this. Nebraska was the only school that said to me, "You probably won't play until your junior year."
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing,
That
and
cuts
they broke down the reasons as to why. The deal was we already have running backs that are redshirt freshmen, a sophomore, two or three juniors. The guys that are in this program already, who put the time in, we also owe it to them to give them their opportunities. As good as you are,
Yeah.
if you come here, you probably won't play until your junior year. Let me tell you something. I was so enamored by that, to be honest with you. I was like, wow. For me, unfortunately, I had no interest in Nebraska. If they'd have told me I was going to start as a freshman, I just had no interest in Nebraska. But because I was such a highly recruited, national recruit and All-American, all that stuff, everybody recruited me. But the sales pitches were different.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't a sales pitch. They were just being straight up. Listen, here's what it is. Tom Osborne was like, as good as you are, you will probably not play until your junior year. And I've talked to other backs and other talent that have gone to Nebraska, and that's the same way it was for them. They wasn't being sold. It was, we are Nebraska. We know what we do and what we can do, and we're not going to tell you something just to get you here, and then you're going to be disgruntled and unhappy within a year anyway. I respect that. My point is, it's a totally different culture right now because anybody can go anywhere in a matter of 2 weeks.
You gone.
I'm going. I'm in the transfer portal. I don't like the way my colors, my socks came out when they washed them. I'm going. Listen, the whole mentality should be, you got to look at this thing as for what it really is. We forgot about what the commitment, what the word commitment means, but that's not only being committed to the university, that's being committed to your word and committed to yourself as well.
Yeah.
You got to know what you are and what your self-worth is. And I think, not to say that a kid who jumps in the portal doesn't understand that. They are looking at it from a business standpoint. But when business becomes more important than what's going to be in the best interest of yourself down the road, because I guarantee you, those kids who jumped in the portal and went to other places, perceivingly that they thought would be better or bigger, and they're not starting or playing or getting what the coach said they were going to get, how do you feel about that? That should be the question. We need to interview young people who've gone through that process to see what they would say about how they're feeling once they got there and didn't play, didn't start. Maybe you got 10 reps the entire season.
And I think also it's when you get to, or when you come out of high school and you don't have those big offers, you go to a school, even if it may be a Power 5 school, it may not be the Blue Blood. You go, you put tape together at that school, you do really well, and then you say, you know what, I kind of like it here. I'm starting, but I'm almost interested. If I were to hop into the portal, if I just put my name in there real quick, like, am I going to get Alabama? Am I going to get Ohio State? Am I going to get those offers now? And I think that's a problem with, again, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And it's not just because now that you've proven yourself, like, see, I'm not that kind of guy, and maybe we're just wired differently. But if I was passed up on those guys out of high school, if I was passed up by those schools, I'm sitting here saying, you ain't getting me at all. You're not getting me now. You passed up on me then, you're never going to get me. I'm going to continue to prove you wrong. So that's just how I look at it.
No, I agree with you. I mean, look, I'm with you on that. Like, listen, if you didn't see the value in me in high school, I went someplace else who did see the value in me. They did give me the opportunity to get on the field and bust my hump and work to where I am now. Now, all of a sudden, I'm an All-American or All-Conference here. And now you talking about come over here? Nah, I'm good, because The same people who gave me the opportunity to develop are the same people I'm going to ride out with.
Yeah, and
Simple
again,
as that.
every situation is different because I think
Sure.
if something happens like we talked about in an episode a month or so ago, if you have like a family situation, you move close back to home. I
Yeah.
get it. If you have been in the program 5 years and you stuck it out and now you just want to go play somewhere, I get it. Like if you were promised certain things or maybe there's something going on behind the scenes, I get it. But just to hop your name in the portal to gauge interest, you know what that is, Eugene? That's cheating. That's cheating. It's just like a relationship. When you sign that paper, to me, that shows that you are married to that program. You are married to that university until you have no eligibility left. And unless one of those things happen behind the scenes, like I said, or something unforeseen happens, I'm married to that program. I'm not going to go out and check out what other programs might be interested in me. Like I'm swiping on Tinder trying to find my perfect match because now I got an opportunity to be better. Like, no,
Right.
I'm
Well, you
sticking.
said it earlier. Wired different, man. I'm the same way. And people may ask, well, why'd you leave Pittsburgh? I mean, the story is now it's been well documented. Hoping it is. The death of my sister allowed me to understand that the particular choices and the things that was done after her death allowed me to see this was not the right place for me. So my reason for leaving Pitt had nothing to do with athletics at all.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it had to do with my older sister's death, and the way it was handled showed me that this is not the right program for me. So, like you said, situations sometimes it's different and it bears different, you know, reasonings for why people make their choices.
But
So that was my choice.
but let's call a spade a spade. I think that you can see certain situations and know that's not really something that's unforeseen. Like you can just tell by looking at a certain situation from a guy in
Sure,
the portal and be like, yeah, that guy's definitely just trying to gauge interest. So, or yeah, he
definitely.
just definitely wants to be at a higher level. But yeah, there are cases where that's not the situation.
I'm going back to what you just said. First off, okay, if you were a kid that did not have Power Five offers and you wound up going to a school where you were ultra successful your freshman year and sophomore year, and now all of a sudden you get Power Five offers because you want to tinker around, throw your name in the portal, that may not be a good decision for you.
Yeah.
Just because you were successful over here does not mean when you step up there, it's a different. I sort of look on some of the TCU players' faces. I'm not sure. I paid attention to their body language.
Mm-hmm.
They knew they were outmatched going into the third quarter. Right after halftime, you saw the look on their faces like, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that wow was, I understand there's levels to everything. This is a different level. I'm not sure if that look and that wow was that, or if that look and that wow was, we are really not playing to our ability. This is why this is happening. Or the reason why you're not playing to your ability is because you're playing against Georgia.
Exactly. I mean, it's crazy, man. And like I said, I don't think either of us have the answers as to why this will never change, or at least it feels like it will never change. I don't want to say never, but
No, you can
it,
say never. Anytime you put money into something, Scholar, it's not going to change. This is the business of where we're going. Listen, I've said this before. You squeeze toothpaste out of your tube, are you putting it back?
nope.
They
It's
done
done.
opened up Pandora's box. That's it. This is a wrap. The only thing that will happen, either it's going to get worse, or you're going to have some type of a guideline and structures how to fix whatever this is that has been created.
Yeah.
That's it. You're not going to go. You're not going to go backwards.
No, I mean, and the sad thing, the sad truth of it all is if we think it's bad now, just wait. Just wait. That's all I gotta say. Just wait. It's gonna.
Absolutely. Unfortunate.
So that's going to do it for today's Between the Years show. That was a fun one. Hopefully we'll have some more talk. I like when we get heated, man. It's just fun. It's passionate. I love it. We're going to have
Absolutely.
a lot of this. throughout the offseason. So be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube at Mountaineers Now and on Twitter at Mountaineers Now as well. I and Chris Hall will be back on Saturday for the Mountaineers Now postgame show as West Virginia travels to Norman to take on the Oklahoma Sooners in Big 12 play. And then next week, again, Tuesday at 6 o'clock, Eugene, Relatively Sports, you'll have another guest on there as well. So thank you for watching. We'll see you guys Saturday afternoon.